Hi everyone, I'm Jet Airplane, and today we're going to demonstrate the startup and before taxi procedure on the PMDG Boeing 747 Queen of the Skies 2. The aircraft is currently in a cold and dark state, and the chocks are in the wheels, and it needs to be powered up. We're currently at the South Cargo Ramp here at Portland International Airport, and we're going to be going from Portland International to Albuquerque today. It's a whopping 990 nautical mile flight, just a drop in the bucket for this airplane. As you can see, we're in our UPS livery. Beautiful UPS livery here, the 2016 livery for UPS. And the aircraft is just sitting here, ready for us to get it started. This aircraft, without a doubt, is a study level aircraft, and what I mean by that is, for those of you who don't sim, is that basically everything in the aircraft's functional, and you can learn from this aircraft. Everything from the hydraulic to the pneumatic systems to an engine flaming out, it's all just phenomenally realistic, and PMDG does a great job replicating these aircraft. For more information about this and other aircraft, I would recommend visiting PMDG.com. They have a lot of information on there, and they have forums, and you can see their other aircraft that they have. They have a 737 new generation and a 777 as well that is also study level. So basically, the walk around here is what we've done, and typically that's done by the first officer. And now it's time to pre-flight and power the aircraft up. So let's go ahead and jump in the aircraft. Okay, so here we are in our beautiful PMDG Boeing 747-400 freighter version. Once again, this aircraft without a doubt is a study level aircraft. Basically everything you see here is functional. And the only two things that aren't really functional in PMDG aircraft are the nose wheel tiller to the left here, the captain, and then also the circuit breaker panel, which is all the way aft. But other than that, everything else is functional. Flight dynamics are just what you would expect out of a heavy aircraft. For more information about this and other aircraft, I would visit pmdg.com. And they have other aircraft as well that are in the study level category. They have a 737NG, new generation, and a 777 as well. So typically, after the walk around is completed, which is typically done by the first officer, the first officer's job is to pre-flight the aircraft and power it up. We did the walk around already, and we're back into the cockpit here. Even though we are on the captain's side, we could do the pre-flight from the captain's side, or from the first officer's side, rather. The first thing that we want to do here is we want to come up to the overhead panel, and we want to verify that the engine electronic control switches are in the normal position. Basically, these switches are what is powering the throttles to the engines. So it's the connection between the throttle quadrant to the engine. Just like in your car, your accelerator is no longer physically connected to the throttle body. It's going through a computer. This is basically what the computer is here, from the throttles to the engines. Make sure those switches are in the normal and the guards are closed. And the next thing that we want to do is get the DC bus on, battery bus, close the guard. There is a flow to this airplane, and we want to start from left to right, up to down. So basically we'll start from the left side here, and we'll work all the way down. Then we'll go to the middle part of the panel. As you can see, there's a partition here, and we'll work our way down, and then we'll go to the right side and work our way down. We've got the battery on. We're going to get the standby power to auto, and we're going to verify that the utility buses are both on left and right, and they are. And the next thing we'll do is we have the option here to either run on ground power or to get the APU running and run off the APU. I'm going to choose to run off the APU today. So go APU to on, and then start, and hold it for a few seconds. And we'll wait for the APU to start. Well, as you can see in here, you can see the exhaust gases coming out of the back of that tail. And you can also see that rudder without any hydraulic pressure moving around. That was kind of interesting. I don't know if that's the wind or if that's a glitch. I don't know if it would actually do that without any hydraulic pressure. But anyway. So that was the APU coming online. Well, the way we verify that is we look here on our top left-hand corner of our panel. We'll see the APU Gen 1 and Gen 2 bus lights are illuminated available. We're going to click those. And now you hear the aircraft come to life, basically. And we're running off the AC power from the APU. We'll come down here, and actually we'll come up to the top here. The next thing we want to do here is we want to align the IRSs, which are basically the laser precision gyros that are within the nose of the aircraft, and they tell the aircraft where it is in the world. So we want to make sure the aircraft is not moving, which it isn't, and it's chalked in place for the alignment process. And it typically takes about 7 minutes. So there are 3 IRSs, inertial reference systems, in this aircraft. We're going to go to the left one to align and nav, center to align and nav, and right to align and nav. And if we come down here, we can see that the time for alignment is 7+ minutes, left, center, and right, or left, right, center, or whatever combination you like. We'll look here at our recall, and we'll see that we have hydraulic systems 1 through 4, and of course there's no brakes because there's no hydraulic system, no hydraulic pressure, and the engines are shut down. Fuel override 2 and 3, yes, we'll get to the fuel panel once we get to that part of it. So well, those are normal indications. We'll check here to make sure the gear is down. It is in the down position. And we'll come down here to the throttle quadrant and make sure that the throttles are closed, the fuel cutoffs are off in the off position, and the reversers are closed, speed brakes down, flaps are retracted. So that's the most important things to do there. We'll go to the stats page here. And basically what we're looking for is we're looking at the APU. EGT looks normal, 100% of N1, and the APU is healthy. And we'll look at the hydraulic quantities. We should have 0.76 or higher on each hydraulic system, and we do. And the crew oxygen should be at least 1,650 pounds, and we have 1,840. And passenger oxygen as well. I don't know why there's passenger oxygen on this airplane. Maybe they can carry a few people in the back or something, crew members or other employees. And the battery is charging. We have a CHG, it's in a charge. If we switch the standby power to battery at the top here, you'll see a discharge, and we're not going to do that. And then of course the flight control check down here at the bottom right hand corner, but there no hydraulic pressure, so we're not going to be able to deflect those control surfaces. We'll come back up here to the overhead panel, and we'll see that the gens are on, and the bus ties are open, and the off lights are illuminated, and the generator lights are on with the off lights illuminated rather, and then the generator disk drives are disconnected because the engines are not running, and the drive lights are illuminated. System faults on the hydraulics, and low pressure on the hydraulics should also be illuminated, and all the hydraulic systems are off. Engine-driven hydraulic pumps are on, and we have a low pressure as the engines are not running. We'll come down to the bottom here. We're going to get the nav light on because the aircraft is powered up. So we should have got that nav light on before, but that's okay. And we'll come down to the FS Actions page here. And we're going to set our fuel and payload. This is the way you do it on the PMDG aircraft. So fuel, we should be at 95,300 pounds is what our dispatcher gave us. So we're going to put 95,300. We're going to go return. We're going to go payload. We're going to set our payload. And we should be at about 246,000 pounds today. And we're going to remove about 20,000 from, so we're going to go 182, or I'm sorry, 185, 285 in the main deck cargo. And we still got to remove about 7,000 pounds, and we're going to remove that from the aft cargo to keep the aircraft balanced. So we'll remove that, and we're just going to go 25,526 here. And that gives us 609,700 pounds, just about 610,000 pounds zero fuel weight. We could add another 300 pounds if we wanted to. Yeah, why not? We'll go 30,016, or no, that would be 31,016. Yeah. So 31,000. No, I'm doing the math wrong. Okay, we'll just add 300 pounds to the aft cargo, so 25,526. I don't know why I can't do math today. And that'll give us a zero fuel weight of 610,000 pounds with our center of gravity here, 21% of mean aerodynamic chord. And we're at a 705,300 pound gross weight. So the fuel and the payload is both loaded. We'll come up here to the Captain's FMC, Flight Management Computer, and we'll go over here, and we're going to verify that we are a Boeing 747-400, and we're running the General Electric, the ADC 2B1F engines, because this is the freighter. And the AIRAC, the nav data is current. It's valid from October 12th to November 8th of 2017. That is correct. We're going to go position initialization. We're going to put our reference airport in. KP is in Papa. D is in Delta, X is in X-ray, because that's Portland, which is where we're at. And there's no gate. We're not going to put that in. We're going to go next page, and we're going to grab one of the IRS positions. So basically we have the GPS, the IRS left and the right IRS, and they should be within about a minute of each other. So here we have 45 degrees, 34.9, 34 minutes, and 9 seconds. And it looks like we have about 9 seconds, or 900, no, that wouldn't be 900 feet, that would be, yeah, that'd be about 1,000 feet difference between each other. So that's pretty close there, and we can actually look at our high altitude chart and see that we are 45 degrees and 34 minutes north and 122 degrees and 36 minutes west, and we'll see that we're in the Portland area, so that's correct. So we're going to grab one of those, and we're going to go to the previous page, and we're going to input that, and now the alignment process can continue, because now we're telling the aircraft this is where we're at, and do your thing, you know. We'll go initial reference, and we know what our zero fuel weight, 610,000 pounds. Our reserves today, according to our nav log, is 39,000 pounds. We'll put that in. And our gross weight is 705,300 pounds. Cost index today is going to be 100. I just put 100. That's given to you by your dispatcher. My dispatching software doesn't give me a cost index, and basically it's a logarithmic function. And the lower the cost index, the more conservative you are with the aircraft. So basically you're going to have a lower Mach number. So we're going to burn less fuel, but at the cost of taking longer to get to your destination. A higher cost index is a higher Mach number and a shorter time en route. So it really doesn't matter, but basically that's what the cost index is. The cruising altitude, we pulled that out of the FCOM, the Flight Crew Operations Manual, and our performance charts in that. And basically, for our gross weight and our deviation from standard temperature, our cruising altitude today is going to be flight level 330. We're going to put that in. And we'll go to the thrust limitations page here. Or actually, yes, we can do that. And we're going to do a 15% derate. So basically what we're doing is we're derating the thrust. We don't have an assumed temperature because, once again, my dispatching software doesn't give it to me. And we just do one of the predefined derates, and it'll be 15%. And basically the assumed temperature is, you're telling the engines, it's got to be higher than the outside air temperature, and you're telling the engines that this is the outside, we're assuming that the outside air temperature is, let's say, 50 degrees Celsius, and you're derating the engines to that. So the higher the assumed temperature, the lower the derate, or the higher the derate, which means the lower the power setting on the engines. We'll go ahead and configure this once we have IRS alignment, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to the departure and arrival page, and we're going to go departure, or I'm sorry, the route page. Let's go to the route page first, and we're going to put our origin in. So it's going to be KPD hex. I'm still a little rusty with these FMCs. And the destination today is going to be Kilo Alpha Bravo Quebec for Albuquerque, ABQ. And our flight number today is UPS 708. So UPS 708. No dash, 708. And we'll expect runway 28 left today at Portland. Basically, those are the departure runways. It could be 10 right, but we're just going to put 28 left here for now. I didn't listen to the ATIS to see what the winds are coming from, but basically prevailing winds are always coming from the ocean during the day, and that would be 28 left. So we're just going to put that in for now. We're not actually going to fly this today. We're just going to do the tutorial, but even if we were, we would probably still do 28 left. And we'll activate that. We'll go departure and arrival. Departures. So departures, the standard instrument departure today, the SID out of Portland today is going to be the Whammy 4. And we're going to copy that. And our transition is going to be the IMB VOR. I forgot what that stands for, but that's what it's going to be. And we're going to expect runway 28 left. So hit 28 left. Transition is IMB, India Mike Bravo. And we'll go to the route page, and we'll activate that. And then we're going to go to the next page, and here we've got via and to. So basically the via is how we're going to get there, and the to is where we're going. So we're going to get there via the Whammy 4 departure, and we're going to IMB VOR. And now I'm like really curious because I want to know what the name of it is, that VOR. Kimberly. That's the Kimberly VOR. And if we look at our chart here, which I can't really pull up here in the airplane, I've got it on my tablet here, but it gives us the procedure that we have to follow. And what we'll do here is we'll verify the legs. So we'll go to the legs page, and we'll see that it's telling us at takeoff 540 feet on a heading of 283. So actually we'll bug that now. We're going to go 283 in the mode control panel, just to bug it and give us a reference. And we'll come back over here. And then we'll see it says we're going to PEG-T and at a 285 degree magnetic course, which is correct. PEG-T to Kelly, Kelly to Wanos, then to Tossie. And at Wanos we have a speed restriction, as you can see here to the right, 250 knots. We have to be at 250 knots, exactly 250 knots. And that's really the only speed restriction here. There is no top altitude on this departure, so the top altitude will be assigned by air traffic control. We have Wanos, Tossie, and we'll go through it, Whammy, IMB. So it all looks good. The departure is correct, and there's nothing that's out of the ordinary there. And then we'll go to the route page. We'll go to the next page. And here we're going to enter the rest of the route. Basically, you know, you have a, like on an essay, you have an introduction, you have a body, then you have a conclusion. Well, the introduction in our case is going to be the departure. The body is going to be the rest of the route, which is the airway, Juliet 15. And we're going to Wasatch VOR. And Wasatch is basically just to the north of Salt Lake City. Well, actually, it's basically really close to Salt Lake City Airport. So we're going to go TCH. Tango Charlie Hotel, and it's going to tell us here now there's two different TCHs. Now we have to know which TCH is it. Is it the 113.10 or 116.10? And we can verify the Latin long. Well, it's actually the 116.8 because that is TCH. So we're going to copy that. And so that's where you know, you have to be able to make sure that you've got the right VOR, and we don't want to go to the wrong VOR and run into a mountain or something, or you know, be way off course. So we verified that with our chart, Latin long, and then of course I already knew the frequency, which was 116.8. And, yeah, Juliet 15 is how we're going to get there. So we're going to go Juliet 15. We're going to put that in, and then let's come back up here and see. Oh, it looks like we do have IRS alignment. That's good. And we'll see if it's successful or not. We'll verify that, and there's a way that we'll do that. We'll come back up here to the FMC. And then from Wasatch, we're going to go to Rosey, R-O-S-E-I. We're going to go direct to that, and that's a GPS waypoint. So typically, I like to stay on airways, but for this tutorial, we're just going to make it simple. R-O-S-E-I. We'll put that in there, Rosey. And direct, because we're going direct. It's not on an airway. And then our arrival, Rosey is going to be our transition into our arrival. So basically, the transitions, like the VOR here, IMB Kimberly, that is the transition. And that's basically how we're going to exit. So it's the door out of the terminal area, per se. And Rosey is the entry into the terminal area for Albuquerque. That is our transition into the STAR, the standard terminal arrival. But that is the body, or basically the route that we're going to fly here. We'll execute that. And we could put our arrival in if we wanted to. Well, we'll just go ahead and do that. So we're going to go departure and arrival and ABQ, and we're going to click arrivals at the bottom for ABQ. And here it's going to give us all of our arrivals. Our arrival today is going to be the Lobo 3. Lobo 3, and we're going to be runway 26. So we're going to expect 26. The winds are prevailing from 260 degrees, and runway 26 is the longest runway, about 13,500 feet over there. And the other runway, which intersects, we're not, I believe, is going to be 21. We're not going to be using that because it's too short. So we'll go runway 26. And it's giving me the RNAV Yankee or Zulu. Well, we might do a visual. We might do the RNAV Yankee or Zulu, but who knows? Well, we'll see when we get there. And the Rosey transition. And we'll execute that. And now we're going to look at our legs page and make sure we have no discontinuities in the route, which means there's a gap. And it looks like there isn't. It looks good. And of course, this is the RNAV arrival into 26. The approach plate, rather. So that looks good. So now that the IRSs are aligned, I like to verify this way. This is the way that the FCOM states to do it too. So we'll pull up our primary flight displays on the captain and the first officer side. We'll pull up our navigational displays. We'll also look at the compass here, and we'll see that the compass is about 062 to 063, and we'll look here at the MAG navigational display. It's saying 063. And then also, if we look at the captain's magnetic heading here, it's also saying 063. First officer saying 063. So we verified that the aircraft knows the heading that it's going based off the magnetic compass. And of course, there are errors in the compass, but I don't think we have to steer anything for 063. I think it's 060. So not that that's going to be a big deal. Okay, we'll continue here with the overhead panel. Now that we've got the FMC program, the fuel and payloads loaded, we'll come back over here. We've already done the left-hand side of the panel. We're going to arm the emergency exit lights. We'll close the guard. And all these other systems we're going to keep in the normal, captain's audio and all that. We'll verify all of the fire handles are in, and they are. And we don't have a bottle discharge light for engine 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the APU as well, which means that the extinguisher bottle has discharged in the engine and would render the engine or the APU inoperable. Well, of course, we're running off the APU, so that wouldn't be the case. Cargo fire, no lights there, and the engine start switch solenoids here, which basically open up the starter valves to allow bleed air to start the engines. We'll make sure those are closed. And the ignition standby, the standby ignition is in normal, not 1 or 2. That would be in the case of if we did lose all electrical power, we'd be using the standby power to light the igniters on the engines. We're going to keep that in normal. Engine start switches are continuous. We would only use continuous ignition if we were in a situation where we had heavy rain, we had volcanic ash, turbulence, or we were restarting an engine in flight. There's a few others, I forget what they are in the FCOM, but those are basically the main ones. So continuous ignition's off. And the type of ignition. So we're going to be auto, and it's going to be single. There are 2 igniters per engine. We're going to use 1 igniter, and basically it's auto, which means it cycles between the igniters 1 and 2, and we do that to save wear and tear on the engine. If we did the both, then both igniters would be ignited, and typically we do that when we're restarting an engine in flight. We had a flame out or anything of that nature. Now, at the bottom here, the dreaded fuel panel. It looks very, very complicated. Got 6 fuel tanks, 14 fuel pumps, 4 cross-feed valves. It looks complicated, but it really isn't. The fuel panel, basically the fuel system logic on this aircraft is designed to minimize the structural loads that are imposed by the fuel. And the fuel is balanced laterally on the aircraft, so from left to right, or whatever, right to left, off the wing there. And the weight of the fuel does make a difference in the structural integrity of the aircraft. So therefore, the fuel is actually burned from the root of the wing first, and then outwards. So basically, the center wing tanks are the biggest tanks in the aircraft, and actually we can get those off since we don't have any fuel in those tanks. And then the main 2 and 3 tanks are second to largest, and then the main 4s are the third to largest. They're smaller in succession. Of course, as the wing tapers off, going from the root to the tip of the wing, the fuel tanks are going to have to get smaller, and that is the case. And then, of course, the reserve tanks, which are all the way the outboard parts of the wings, are the even smaller tanks. And we'll get the fuel crossfeeds 1 and 4 off. So there's the FCOM basically has a rule, and basically if we have 127,000 pounds of fuel or less, or if we have more than 127,000 pounds of fuel, rather, that is the correct way to say it, then we have the center, and if there's fuel in the center wing pumps, so the center wing pumps are as needed. If we don't have any fuel there, those are going to come off. But basically the override pumps will come on if we have 127,000 pounds or more, and the fuel crossfeeds 1 and 4 would come on. In our case, we don't. We have 95,300 pounds of fuel. So center pumps are off, crossfeeds are off, override pumps are off, and the mains 1 and main 4 pumps would come on. Now, we don't have a low oil pressure in the aft main 2 pumps because the APU is burning fuel from there. So we should get an extinguished light, which verifies that that system is functioning properly. So actually, we're going to get all the fuel pumps on. Main 1, main 2, main 3, and 4. And the override pumps are going to stay off because, once again, and we'll come down here to the fuel panel. We'll show you what that means. And we have 95,200 pounds of fuel. So the fuel is evenly distributed already between main tanks 1 and 4, so we don't need the override pumps. Now, if we had more fuel in main 2 and 3 than main 1 and 4, then the override pumps would have to come on, so we can start pushing fuel to engines 1 and 4. I hope that wasn't confusing. But since it's already evenly distributed, we don't need to do that. So that's the simplest way that I can explain it, at least. Those fuel pumps are already on. Nacelle anti-ice and wing anti-ice off. FCOM clearly states that if we have an outside air temperature of 10 degrees Celsius or a true air temperature of 10 degrees Celsius, we would not engage the nacelle anti-ice. It would have to be below that. And then the window heats are on, and the wing anti-ice is off, washers are off, and they're parked. The lighting, we're going to keep where it's at. Outboard, the landing lights and all that, won't mess with that yet. And I don't know why I hit that key. We'll go up to the top. Supernumerary oxygen is normal. Guards closed. Upper and lower yaw dampers are on. And the pressurization is automatic. And basically, we would keep the pressurization in auto unless we were landing at a field elevation of 8,000 feet or greater. That's what the FCOM states. We're going to keep the pressurization in auto, and the outflow valves are open. Temperatures are auto. Trim air is on. We'll get the aft cargo heat on. We could get 1 pack on, since we can, since we're sitting here, so we don't sweat. That's not really that cold or that hot anyway. And keep 2 packs off. Now, you can start the engines with 1 pack running. The left and right isolation valves are open. As you can see, there's a line going through it, and the APU bleed and engine bleeds are on. And we have the off lights illuminated on the engine bleeds. The engines aren't running. So that was the overhead panel. And now we'll do the pre-flight checklist here, so we'll grab that. So pre-flight checklist, we'll check the oxygen, captain's oxygen here, and the first officer's oxygen here. Flight instruments are set, heading and altimeter. We haven't set the altimeter yet. Parking brake is not set. We'll go ahead, well we can't set that as we don't have any hydraulic pressure, so we'll set that once we get the hydraulic pressure going. And the fuel control switches are cut off. That was the pre-flight checklist there. The next thing we want to do is get the ATIS, and we'll call up clearance delivery and get our takeoff clearance. So let's go ahead and get the ATIS here. 128.35, and yeah, we'll sit on the captain's side today. I've been switching off to the first officer side, but oh, information Bravo now. Okay, well nothing's changed, same altimeter. It went from Alpha to Bravo, like at the same time that I was tuning it in. What a coincidence. Alright, well, we have Bravo. 3013 on the altimeters. We've set the captain and first officers. Now we've got to set the standby. This is the hardest one because it's so far away. I can't see it. I got to zoom in with my track IR here. 3013. Okay, so 3013 is set, and we'll verify that the captain and first officers, and we'll look at the field elevation, and that is about it, about 35 feet. It's saying 40 feet here. Yeah, it's close enough, so we're good. So information Bravo, and it looks like 10 left and right, but I don't know how accurate that is. The flight simulator's ATIS versus my air traffic controller's ATIS. So we'll see what they give us. We'll put in clearance delivery here. Clearance delivery is 120.12. So we'll tune that, and we'll call for clearance. And make sure that the mic is on there so that we can talk. Alright, and that's basically it. Let's go ahead and call for the clearance. Make sure that my push-to-talk key works here. Portland clearance delivery, good morning. UPS 708 Heavy, IFR to Albuquerque, and we have Bravo.
Last aircraft calling, say again?
Portland clearance delivery, UPS 708 Heavy was calling for clearance.
UPS 708 Heavy, Portland clearance, clearly Albuquerque Airport, Miami for departure, Kimberly transition, minutes filed. Maintain 6000, expect level 330, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 118.42, squawk 2412.
Okay, we're clear to Albuquerque International, WAMI for departure, Kimberly transition, Venice filed, climb and maintain 6000, expect flight level 330, minutes after, departure frequencies 118.42, squawk 2412, UPS 708 Heavy.
UPS 708, read back correct.
Thank you. Alright, so let's go ahead and set the squawk, 2412. So we'll go 2412 in the box. And we'll keep it on TA only. 2412 set. Departure frequency is 118.42. 6,000 initial altitude. So we'll climb and maintain 6,000 initially, and we'll expect our cruise altitude 10 minutes after. So 6,000 set and the MCP. And that's basically it. Let's go ahead and put ground in, though. Put the ground frequency in, 121.9er. So we can call for pushback, or we don't need to call for pushback in this case because we won't be in a movement area. And there we go. We've got that set, and then we could just set the tower into standby if we wanted to. But we're not going to do that because we're not going to fly it. Okay, next checklist. Before start, flight deck doors closed and locked. Yes, passenger signs are not on. And then also, let's get the auto brake to RTO, even though that is already on the checklist, the next thing, but let's just do that now. Seatbelt signs are on. MCP set. No, it's not. We got to come back here and finish programming the FMC here. We're going to go takeoff. We're going to take off. We're going to do flaps 10 takeoff today. And our V speeds, V1, VR, V2. V2 is 169 knots. Acceleration, engine out acceleration heights 1,000 feet. Throttle reduction at 1,500 feet. We're going to set climb power, and we're going to pitch for 250 knots. And we're going to set the trim. Get the center of gravity. And then it's going to populate trim. 6.5 units today. And the V speeds are already in. And thrust limitations already set. Now, we'll go 169 knots for V2. Because that's what we're going to pitch for initially. For 1,000 feet. And if we look here, our V speeds are already populated. We see 146 for V1 already. So the takeoff speeds are already set. CDU pre-flight's complete. Trim we're going to set once we have hydraulic power and the taxi and takeoff briefing. At 80 knots, we're going to call cross-check for speed. If our airspeed indicators are not in agreement with each other, we're going to abort. At below V1, if we do get an engine out, master caution, tire blows out, a fire, anything like that, we'll stop. Maximum braking if we're above 80 knots, maximum reverse, stop the aircraft, assess the situation, and if we can, we'll attempt another takeoff. At or above V1, we're going to continue, and we're going to climb to our acceleration, engine out acceleration height of 1,000 feet. We're going to pitch for 169 knots if we do, whether or not we do lose an engine, but that's our V2 speed. And we're going to come back around and land. I am the pilot flying today. You are the pilot monitoring. No TFRs in the area. Weather is okay. We've checked no SIGMETs, no airmets in our area, and everything else is looking good. Any questions? Perfect. Let's get it going here. So the before start checklist is complete. So the next thing I'd like to do here is call for pushback. But before we do that, let's verify the overhead panel is configured. We've got all of our fuel pumps on. And let's see here. Let's get the beacon on, since the engines are going to be powered up. The strobes come on entering the runway because they can blind pilots. The strobes will stay off for now. And everything else on the overhead panel is looking good. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to get the hydraulic demand pump number 4 to auxiliary. That is the order it has to be in, because the hydraulic pressure is redirected to the parking brake. And then we're going to get number 2, 1, 2, and 3 on, in that order. And we should see those lights illuminate, and the low pressure light should still be on for demand pump number 4, because we've redirected the hydraulic fluid. And we're burning from tank 2 on the APU, 23,700 pounds there. And we'll go menu, FS actions, and we're gonna ground connections. Actually, let's go ahead and set the parking brake before we remove the chocks. If I can get my cameras where I need them to get to. There we go, parking brake set. And remove the wheel chocks. And let's call for pushback. And let's see, we want to push back. I don't know why the spoilers are deflected. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, that's because I must have hit my slash key here on the keyboard, which also deflects the spoilers. Okay. Anyway, well, at least we know the spoilers are working. Let's see. We want to push back. This is not going to be an easy pushback. Okay. Yeah, we'll push back to the left, with the tail to the right. And it's going to be a short distance because we're going to run into the building if we don't do that correctly. So let's see, total distance, we're going to go like 75 feet. And then we're going to go 90 degrees. Or we'll go 95 degrees. Oh, you can't go more than 90. Okay, fine. We'll go 90 degrees. And we want the tail to the right. And we'll start the pushback. And then they start doing their talking thing here.
Go ahead. We've been cleared for pushback and start. They want the tail to our right.
Copy that. Ready to push. Tail to the right. Parking brakes release, please.
Let me repeat. Maybe if I release the parking brakes, they'd continue.
Brakes released. Here we go.
All right, we're moving. Hopefully we don't run into the building. We're going to have to verify that when we start turning here. And you should start turning us. Should start turning me now. There's not even a tug. That's just so funny. We're getting pushed back by a ghost tug. Alright, that's fine anyway, because we'll just taxi the rest of it. It's no big deal. And we're at the South Cargo ramp here. Alright, we're just going to tell them to stop us, because I don't want to run into the building. Alright, stop. There it is. Crazy guy. We'll set the parking brake. Alright. Parking brake is set. And we'll go ahead and start the engines now. Let's verify, we probably should have done that before, verify we have adequate oil. We have 22 quarts. And 22 quarts in engine number 2 and number 3, and then number 4's got 21. That's okay. As long as we have a minimum of 18 quarts, we're good. We have enough oil, and that's all looking good there. So we're going to need the engine page so we can monitor the N2 rotation before we introduce fuel. And the N1 page as well, or the ECAS, for the upper ECAS. So we're going to come over here. Let's go ahead and, we're still on the APU cam, and I think we ran our tail into the building, but it's a good thing the buildings are see-through. We can still see those engines windmilling. We're going to come up here and we're going to start engine number 4 and number 3 in succession. And we're going to monitor the start. So engine number 4 and number 3 to start. There we go. And let's come back over here and we're looking for 25% of N2. There's 25. We're going to introduce fuel. Number 4, number 3 cutoffs to run. And now it's going to start feeding fuel into the engine. And hopefully this engine will start sustaining itself. Oil pressure's looking good. And
Morning, Aspen clearance,
N1
FedEx 3171, North
increasing.
General Aviation ramp. With November, looking for IFR to Denver, FedEx 3171.
EGT is rising normally, not in the red.
FedEx 3171 Aspen clearance to Denver, Portland's 8 departure, red tape.
And we're going to wait for the starter cutoffs, those solenoids that you just
Climb
heard,
be
the clicks.
assisted. Departure
And
frequency
they're extinguished.
123.8, squawk
And we'll also
4440.
look here, see that the generator switches on the left-hand side extinguish, and the APU Gen 2 light becomes available because
Copy the Lindsay.
the logic basically on the
Departure, red table
generators, the engine
transition,
generators are
climb via
priority,
exit.
and then
And
the
squawk
APU generator
4440,
bus is
FedEx
closed.
3171.
FedEx
So
3171,
that looks
read
good
back
there. We're going to start engines number 3 and number 4 in succession, so we'll do that as well. Or I'm sorry, number 2 and number 1. Number 2 and number 1 pull to start. There we go. We have rotation. Alright, N2 is rising, 25%. We're going to introduce fuel. Engine number 2, number 1 to run. And 1 is increasing. and oil pressure is increasing on the respective engines. And of course, the oil quantity is going to decrease as the engine is going to start sucking up the oil. So the reservoir is going to show a lower oil quantity. That's normal. Those two clicks you heard are the starter cutoffs for engines 2 and 1. And we have successful engine start. So here we're at the south cargo ramp. And the next thing we'll do here is we'll get our feet on the brakes. We're going to go hydraulic demand pump number 4 to auto, since our feet are on the brakes now. We're not using the parking brake. And packs number 2 and 3 are normal. And we'll get the runway turn-off lights on and the taxi lights on. Come on, it won't let me click it. And then we're going to go flaps 10, flaps 5, and flaps 10. We'll set the trim. And we said the trim was 5.8 units. Let me just remember that. I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. 6.5 units, see? I would have made a mistake there. Okay, so we're going to go 6.5. That's 6. That's about 6.5 units there. Trim is set. And we'll do a flight control check. Go to the stats page. So we're going to go left aileron, up elevator, and the left spoiler should deflect with that. Right aileron, and then down elevator, and the flaps are still extending. And then we're going to go back to left aileron, and then we're going to go right rudder, and we'll go left rudder. And the flight controls are free and correct. And we've got the auto brake set to reject. Flaps are already set. Trim is set. We'll do the before taxi. Anti-ice is off. Recall we'll check. See what we got here in the recalls. Auto brakes are RTO. APU is running. Oh yeah, we didn't turn the APU off. I always forget to do that on this airplane. I don't know why. Alright, APU is off. And flight controls are checked. Ground equipment's clear. That ghost tug is a ghost anyway, so we can't run into him. And we're going to pull up here. We'll taxi it a little bit to the hold short line. No more than about 40% of N1 for taxi. We're basically at Echo 4 at the south cargo ramp, so we'll let them know where we're at. And that's basically it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and also learned something in the process. If you're thinking about buying this aircraft, I really would stop thinking about it and just buy it. Great airplane. Plane without a doubt. It's one of the most enjoyable aircraft I have ever flown. Everything from having an engine flame out in cruise and consulting the FCOM for the drift down altitude to fly at, and managing the fuel system. It's just really fun and really hands-on, and I definitely recommend it. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below in the video. Fly safe, have fun, and we'll see you next time.